You know, I never thought buying that little cabin on Willow Creek Lake would turn my life into the kind of wild story folks usually just pass around campfires. But there I was, cop lights slicing the dark like a bad omen, my so-called neighbor Susan Reynolds screeching across the yard about my illegal boat, and me standing there on the dock, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth, wondering if the peace I fought so long for was about to slip away, all because I wanted to honor my old man's memory and fish where we used to cast lines together. See, it started simple, or at least I thought it would. One of those cool autumn mornings where the leaves are gold and red, and the air's got that snap to it that makes you believe anything's possible, right? That's when Susan, queen bee of the HOA across the cove, stormed up my gravel drive with that clipboard clamped under her arm like it held the secret to world peace. Her eyes all narrowed and suspicious, like I'd stolen the Hope Diamond, or at least her favorite gnome. "That campfire smoke's drifting onto my roses," she barked, and before I could get a word in, she went on about my big American flag, flapping wild like it had a grudge, ruining her aesthetic, and she promised right there I'd get a fine. Now here's the kicker. My place isn't even in her fancy HOA. I bought this spot exactly because I wanted out of all that nonsense. Just a quiet lot I scraped together money for after years of invisible office work where the only thing people ever called me was, "Hey you." But Susan, she wasn't the type to be stopped by boundaries on a map. Oh no, she thrived on control, on being the sheriff of grass length and mailbox paint. Like if she let go of one single rule, her whole life would unravel. And maybe, yeah, deep down, that was her real fear. I tried to play nice, honest. I offered lemonade, even invited her to fish with me one afternoon, figuring maybe what she needed was company, you know? But Susan, she wasn't built for olive branches. She was built for power, for finding every little thing out of place and making it a crisis. And my old blue motorboat, the one I saved up for years to take my nephews out in summer, suddenly became her public enemy number one. And from then on, it was this bizarre cat-and-mouse game, her slapping neon violation slips on my door for wake erosion and wildlife disturbance, me tearing them up and waving at her like we were buddies. But deep down, every time she spied on me from the bluff with her binoculars, it started to eat away at me. Dad always said, kindness is like fishing, you cast it out and wait. But with Susan, it felt like tossing bait to a shark, and the more I tried to ignore it, the more it chipped away at the peace I thought I'd found. Then came the night everything changed, a storm rolling in, wind howling like it wanted to tear the roof off, rain coming down in sheets so thick you could barely see. And in the middle of all that chaos, Susan shows up, dragging two big guys with her in a rickety skiff, engine grumbling, ropes coiled tight, her hood dripping rain down her nose, phone out recording, yelling over the thunder that they were impounding my boat. HOA emergency. Final word. She wasn't backing down, and for a second, I actually thought she might just snap. And then, lightning cracked, and Susan grabbed the rope the wrong way. It yanked her wrist so hard she slid toward the edge, feet flying out from under her. Her scream cut through the storm, sharp and scared. And before I even thought about it, maybe it was muscle memory, or maybe Dad's voice in my head saying, "You help, no matter what." I dove forward, grabbed the knot, and pulled her back, both of us crashing down on the dock just as the deputy's sirens blared closer. She stared up at me, shaking, eyes wide with fear, and whispered, "Why'd you save me?" And all I could say was, "Because we're neighbors, Susan. That's what you do." But even then, with the cops dragging her hired muscle away and checking my boat's paperwork, which, surprise, was all in order, I watched Susan's face go hard again, muttering about board meetings and nuisances, like she just couldn't process kindness. And I wish I could tell you that was the turning point, that we shook hands and had coffee, and it was all fine. But nah, she doubled down. Maybe because she was scared to lose her grip, maybe because losing felt like losing herself. Next morning, I found a lock clamped on my boat, big orange tag, compliance violation. My blood just boiled, not just with anger, but this ache, because those boat rides were my way of holding on to Dad, you know? I called the deputies, Carter and Ellis, good guys, tired of the drama. They took pictures, told me I could press charges, but I figured maybe mercy would work where force hadn't. But Susan wasn't done. Her lawyer, Victor Lang, a real shark in a polished SUV, dropped a civil lawsuit on my porch, papers scattered like trash, threats of court and mounting fees. Move your boat to the public marina, and this all goes away. He smirked, like it was a game, not my life. That's when my buddy Dave, best mechanic this side of the river, looked at the claims and said, "Man, this is pure harassment." And we decided to fight back, not just for me, but for all the other quiet folks Susan's rules were slowly grinding down. Enter Ryan, a young attorney, sharp as a tack, who heard what was going on and offered to help. Pro bono, said, if they push independents like you off the lake, it poisons the whole community. And that's where things took a sharp, dark turn. One night, sirens blared again. This time across the cove at Grace Harper's cottage, sweet old Grace who'd baked me pies and watched my dog when I was away. Her house was on fire, smoke choking the air, firefighters dragging her and her grandson Tommy out just in time. Coughing, shaken but alive, Deputy Carter pulled me aside, whispered, "Alex, we're smelling gasoline on the porch, looks like arson." A witness saw a shadow running off. But get this, Susan was in custody already, caught trying to break into your boat. And that's when it hit me. Maybe this whole mess wasn't just about one neighbor with control issues. Maybe it was something bigger. Ryan dug into records, found contracts, emails between Susan, her lawyer, and a shady company called Lakeside Ventures, planning to buy up every independent lot, bulldoze them for a luxury marina. And the only thing standing in their way? Folks like me and Grace. And they were promised kickbacks if they cleared us out, even if it meant lawsuits or worse. We couldn't wait, so one night, me, Ryan, and Dave broke into the HOA office, hearts pounding, hands shaking, Dave rifling files, Ryan hacking the computer. Just as we found the proof, headlights flooded the parking lot, Victor's SUV blocking us, Susan stumbling out, wild-eyed. "Hand over what you took," Victor snarled, his goons stepping up. Right then, Carter and Ellis rolled in, blue lights blazing, cuffs snapping shut. Turns out Ryan tipped them off for backup, and with all the contracts, it was over. Victor, Susan, their whole scheme, busted for conspiracy, fraud, arson, you name it. After all that, the lake healed, slow but sure. Grace's house rebuilt by neighbors. Tommy finally learning to fish on my boat. Me sitting on the dock at sunset, running my hands over Dad's old tackle box, thinking, we held the line, Pop, with patience, not fists. Susan, she got probation, therapy. Rumor has it she's stepping back, maybe realizing her war for control nearly drowned her. But you know what keeps me up sometimes? Wondering if she was really the villain, or just someone so lost in her own hurt, she forgot how to be a neighbor, and maybe, just maybe, the system that pits us against each other over a patch of dirt and a few rules is the real problem. So what about you? Ever tangled with an HOA tyrant or someone who turned out to be fighting their own battles? Drop a comment, tell your story, and if this hit home, hit like, subscribe. Let's keep these conversations going, because sometimes kindness is the strongest fight there is.